with the last topic that we did last week on making it through the low chapters in life. And then it comes into like the natural next question, which is the courage and the identity required to let an old version of you die. And the question being, like, why is that so difficult? Right. So we're going to talk about something that not a lot of people discuss when we talk about growth, right? They say, hey, growing pains is the expression that is used. Why? I mean, we think about it like, oh, it's like when I'm growing up, I'm going physical growing pains. Sure. But like, where else does this apply? That's the real question that we're going to answer today is what we're talking about growth is that everyone wants transformation. But very few people are interested in the loss that can come with it. This is, hey, I want growth. Doesn't that mean I'm acquiring things? Doesn't that mean that I'm taking on more? And it, in my personal experience, I think in a lot of people's experiences, is that it's been less about what you accumulate, and the real growth usually comes from what do you have to learn to let go? What do you have to trim away that's been holding you back? So the truth is, every meaningful transformation requires something to go, something to get to die. And this isn't physically, but it's mentally, emotionally. Why? Because you only have room to fill up with so much, right? Like, how much can you take on? How much can you overload before you're weighed down and you can't move at all? Right? So why does something have to, well, it sounds grim, like something has to die. Well, you have to make room for the new things, for the new growth, for the new identity, for the new way that you're going to be moving forward. So we're talking about identities. We're talking about old beliefs. We're talking about old habits. Maybe we're talking about relationships. We're talking about a way of thinking, a way of perceiving. How does that have to change if I'm going to make room for the person that I've always envisioned myself to be? And by the way, even that vision, that thing can change too. It will change. So the reason that growth is so difficult isn't because becoming someone new is hard. It's because of letting go of who you have been is hard. You adopt onto the new characteristics, sure, it can be challenging to learn. But for most of us, it's not about learning the new thing. It's about making space for it. And so how do you do that? How do you make space for that version of yourself? That's the difficult part, not learning the new thing. Okay, I understand this thing. It's letting go. So why do we do this? Right? Why do we hold on to the old versions of ourselves? And what part of your identity would be hardest for you personally to let go of? This is a rhetorical question, but think about it. What specifically about yourself is the hardest for you to let go? And why does this happen? Because the truth is, human beings, and especially firefighters, well, we become attached to familiarity. We become attached to patterns. We become attached to knowing, right? We spent a lot of time the last month talking about like, we want certainty. We want certainty in what we do, which is so strange. Like as a firefighter, you walk in every day. It's the last thing that you get is certainty, right? But we want certainty in our lives. We want consistency. Our brain's like that. It's analyzing it as low risk. If I can know what's going to happen, if I can know what to expect, then I know that my outcome will be XYZ. Okay. So we get attached to that. We get attached to familiarity, even when it no longer serves us. Even when it no longer serves us. Even if it's a habit that we can consciously recognize this is not doing something for me, and I still latch onto it because my brain is wired to the devil I know, right? It's the devil you know. That's the expression. Who's the devil I know? Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's us. It's like, well, why would I accept new challenges that I'm unaware of when I can just accept the ones that I know already? And does that leave room for you to grow into the person that you want to be? So we become attached to familiarity, even when it no longer serves us. And the old version of you right now or in the past, it may have been built to survive, right? To gain approval, to avoid pain, to create safety. As we said this before, I'll say it again. Your brain is not wired for happiness. Your brain is wired for safety. Your brain does not care if you're happy. It cares if you're alive, right? Those are two separate things. And usually the safest thing that you can do most of the time is not the thing that creates happiness. Oftentimes. Not going to say never. I'm not going to paint those extremes, but a lot of the time, safety and happiness are not like coexisting together. Right? Why? Because those things, they require risk. They require courage. No risk, no reward, right? So we can boil this down into the fire service context when you say this. We have this expression, you risk a lot to save a lot. And you risk little to save little. Well, what if you're talking about saving yourself? Not in a physical context, but in a mental, emotional, self-growth way. How much are you willing to risk for yourself? You risk a lot to save a lot. What if I have to make a lot of changes? Do I think I can do that by completely playing it safe? Or is that the same concept as I'm only risking a little? I'm only willing to risk a little bit for me, for myself. I'll risk everything in the world for anybody else, but I'll only do a little bit for myself. Well, what kind of changes do you expect to make? Right? Your whole job is based in risk assessment. We go and do the things that nobody else wants to do, that nobody else is willing to do. You put that risk, your life on the line to save them. You won't put a little on the line to change yourself? Who do you want to be? Is that safety an illusion? The problem is that survival identities, the ones that tell you to play it safe, to keep it safe, to not make changes, to accept the devil that you know, the problem with these identities is they become limitations later. And like, where did we learn these patterns? Because the truth is they came from somewhere. And it's also true that what protected you at one point in time may now be preventing you from growing moving forward. At one point in your life, it may have served a true purpose. I'm not going to get into like, hey, the childhood, how did your childhood psychology go? What kind of relationship did you have with your parents and dynamics growing up in kids and schools? All of that can play into it. But we're not going to get into the nitty gritty. What we are going to talk about is the acknowledgement at some point this may have served you. You may have learned this pattern earlier than you can even remember. But that's not the point. The point is it serving you now? Your brain at an early age, at a young age, may have learned that this is a thing that I have to do to survive. Or that's how your nervous system, your body, and your brain learned it. Is it serving you now? Does it match up with reality now? And do you think you can make the changes that you need to by constantly playing it safe? So ask yourself a question. What labels have you carried on yourself for years? What stories have you told yourself for years? I don't know about you, but like in my past, there have been moments where I stopped growing for nothing other than the sake of just staying loyal to an identity that I thought I had to have. I am this way. These are the kind of decisions I have to make. I've always made them this way. I've always been like this. This is what I have to do. I don't have a choice. This is who I am. And like, what doors close in your life? What doors have you closed? Think back on your own personal story, your own personal life. What have you closed yourself off to just for the sake of saying this is the way that I have been and I can't change, or I don't want to change? Have you ever had a moment where you think like, God, I wish I could have just learned to respond to that. I wish I could have just made a different choice. Now that I know what I know, now that I have the experience that I have, maybe now I would do things different. Sometimes we stop growing because we become loyal to an identity, a tough one, right? I'm the tough person. I have to respond this way because I'm tough. I'm salty. I got salt in my liner. The fixer. I'm the one who has to do this. I have to do it alone. I'm the one that people look to. This is my job. I fix things. I'm the man of the house. I'm the woman of the house. The victim. The people pleaser. Right? I always put other people before myself, before my own happiness, before my own satisfaction, before I fill up my own cup. I empty my own. I pour it and give it all away because they're more important. Where does that story come from? The perfectionist. I will not make a decision. I will not move until every detail, every single piece of the puzzle I know is perfectly in place. I polished it. It's ready. I spent months on this thing. I'm not going to move on it until it's perfect. I've always been a perfectionist. I'm the provider. I'm the one with I'm the smart one. I'm the one who's supposed to be smart. I'm the strong one. I lead. I'm independent. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. The problem is not the label. The problem is when you become unwilling to evolve beyond it. The problem is not the label. It is when you become unwilling to change, unwilling to adapt, unwilling to move. So let me ask you a question. Everyone in here has been in the fire service for a pretty good combined length of time in here right now, just looking around. And I want you to think about something. How many firefighters, either yourself or others, have you noticed struggle when the role of being a firefighter becomes their entire identity? Becomes the entire identity. You don't have to answer this question. I just want you to think on it. What happens when that becomes everything that you are? And I've said this in this community many times, and I stand by it, because being a firefighter, career, volunteer, whatever it is, it's more than just that role, right? It's more than just a job. But I have always also stood by the fact that it's not everything that you are. And we have to be careful of adopting that identity of this is the only thing that matters, the only thing I prioritize, the only thing I put first. We do, because it's not everything that you are. You might be a spouse, a grandparent, a provider, a parent, a teacher, a fill in the blank. Most of us are multifaceted. Most of us have different aspects to our personality that make us who we are, outside of just the job that you do. Right? So the fire service provides meaning to a lot of us, right? Purpose. Here for a purpose. I'm here to help. Provides community, belonging, brotherhood, sisterhood. But here's the thing that you have to realize in this process is that when your identity, your entire identity, becomes attached to a job, any job, but especially firefighting, any change to that becomes threatening. Why? Any change to the job, any change to the structure, why does it become so threatening? Because then it's no longer about the job, it's about who you are. It's about your character traits. So a change to the job is construed as an attack on who you are, as a change to what you do, and especially in something that you're comfortable in. What do human beings not like? We don't like changes to things that we're comfortable with. We do demonstrate this. Okay. So if your entire identity becomes attached to what you do in your job, then any change at all becomes threatening. Retirement, injury, promotion, career change, life transition. The stronger the attachment, the more painful the transition. Because it doesn't feel like the job is changing. It feels like you're losing yourself. It feels like you are changing without your own permission. Hmm. So here's the thing, like this is like the crux of the conversation today, right? Have you ever felt like I'm in a growing season? I am growing, I am changing. I like objectively, I am moving in a good direction. Like I know on paper, if I wrote it all down, I have all these things going for me. I'm making all these changes. I'm trying all these things. I am making progress. And yet, have you ever felt sadness while becoming a better version of yourself? Like all of that can be true, and still it's hard and it's difficult. I know I'm growing. Why do I feel like uncomfortable about it? And not just uncomfortable. Why is this sad? Like what is that? I'm like maybe there's a little grief here. But everything is telling me that I should be happy about the growth that I'm seeing. Like objectively, everything on paper is going well. Then why do I feel like this? How does that happen? Why does that happen? Here's the thing. And sometimes growth is exciting. It's not to say it isn't. We're just talking about the other side of the coin here. Sometimes it does feel exciting, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it feels like grief. Why? Because sometimes real growth means you're leaving something behind. You're leaving something behind. Maybe it's an old mindset. Maybe it's something, a way of thinking that you used to find a lot of comfort in. Maybe, maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a relationship that at one point in time was really amazing, but now things have changed. And if I'm going to keep going forward, maybe I can't have this relationship in my life anymore. Even if it's painful, especially if it's painful. Maybe it's an old comfort zone, an old version of yourself. Maybe it's a place, maybe it's a time, maybe it's a memory. But here's the thing that I think we have to acknowledge and just like address the elephant in this room is that sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes growth feels like loss before it feels like progress. You say, hey, is it wrong for me to feel that way? No. Like, feel it. Feel it for what it is. Accept it and then move forward and grow, right? It is okay to have that be a part of the process. The only problem we'll have is if you don't allow yourself that process to begin with. If you tell yourself it's wrong. So let me ask you another question. What if you let go of who you have been, but you don't yet know who you're becoming? And this is probably the hardest part, right? This is the hardest situation. It's like, listen, I know what I've been doing isn't working. It's not good for me. I know I have some things I got to let go of, some things I have to trim away. I know that this is true, but I don't know exactly know how I'm supposed, I see the road, but I can't see the destination. Okay. Is it better than staying stuck in place? Is it better than analysis paralysis? Is any movement better than nothing? See, this is where most people get stuck. Most of us. We get stuck in the space between identities, the space between decisions, the space between certainty, the space between action. There's this chapter, they call it the lonely chapter. And I'll tell you about that in a minute, but like you no longer fit the old version, but the new version of you hasn't fully formed yet. The space in between. Interesting place, which creates the uncertainty. The uncertainty creates fear. And what do we do when we experience that fear? We return to old patterns simply because they are familiar. I can go back. I'm good at being who I used to be. I can do that at the drop of a hat. I've reinforced that thought pattern. I've reinforced those actions and those habits. Man, that's easier than marching towards uncertainty, isn't it? Why do so many of us go back? Because it's easy. My mentor has a saying that every day we usually come to the crossroads of deciding between what's right and what's easy. Every day we make those decisions. Not because they're beneficial, but because they're familiar. So the real question is for you listening to this, what old version of yourself keeps trying to come back? It could be a piece of that too. Like you've been here, you've decided to undertake this journey. Where's that voice come from? Maybe it's loud some days, maybe it's a little quiet the next. What's it telling you to do? When you wake up in the middle of the night, when you have the decision between what's right and what's easy, what's the easy version saying? Like identify those habits. You know what you came into this program doing. You know what your ambitions were. You knew, most of you knew where you were being held back. So ask yourself, when you get down to really, really, really true, honest behavior analysis of yourself, your beliefs, what's the thing that you're still tempted to do that you know hasn't been serving you? And maybe you haven't done it in a while, but what is it? Is it there? Is it around substance? Is it around a thought pattern, a belief, certain activity, lack of activity? What does that voice tell you? And it's not bad that it's there. You should recognize it and then tell it to shut the hell up. You look at it right in the face and say, it's okay. You can be in the room, but you're not going to control the conversation. You're welcome in the room. That's fine, but I don't have to be attached to it. There's a saying, I'm probably going to butcher it. It's like a Zen monk saying, old, something along these lines. If anybody knows what it actually is, you can call me on it. But it's like a proverb, I suppose. Do not confuse the clouds with the sky. Do not confuse the clouds for being the sky. What does that mean? What do we think that means? You see, we've talked about this concept before. I want to break it down a little bit more. So you can have a thought. You can have any thought in the world. Are you your thoughts? Think of thoughts as clouds. There are clouds in the sky. Are clouds the entire sky? Everything that makes it up? No. What do clouds do? They pass by. They pass by overhead. They move in and out of the atmosphere. Sometimes they're rolling in thunder and storm, and sometimes they're light and airy and carefree. But how attached are you to the thoughts? Right? Can you have a thought and it not be who you are? Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever had a thought that you haven't been attached to? Yeah. I've made this joke before to make light of it, but like I've looked at traffic and been like, I should jump in front of that truck. Like I've had that thought. It doesn't mean I was attached to it. And I was like, oh, that's a crazy thought. Throw it out. You know, odds are you probably had intrusive, crazy thoughts before as a human being. This is normal. But what are the thoughts that we give power to? You have a thought. Do you know the power they have? Is the power we give it. Is the attachment we have, the belief we have to that thought. Because otherwise, it's just a word. It's just words. It's just thoughts. Are your thoughts who you are? Only if you believe it. Only if you believe them. So what thoughts do you want to believe? If we think of it from this narrative, and say, hey, I can give power to thoughts or I can take it away. Well, then great. What thoughts do I want to give power to? Which ones am I going to pour into the bucket of understanding and importance? If I can choose, this is a belief that I have, or it's not. It's the old version of you that wants to keep coming back. Are you allowing it to? Are you pouring back into its power? Are you giving credit to those thoughts? Are you letting it have a louder voice in the room? Because that's what I said earlier. You can let it in the room, but it's not going to have the control over the conversation. You are. Are you separate from your thoughts? Under stress, what we do is we revert often to old habits, old thinking, old coping mechanisms, and old stories that are familiar. Because again, as we stated at the beginning, the brain will value familiarity more than it will value growth. Risk assessment. So that means that growth is an active pursuit. It means it's not passive. It means you have to try. Think of it the same way that you would as recovery. Remember? You can't think of recovery as this thing that's just going to happen when I have time, or it will never happen, especially in the lifestyle of a firefighter. All of you have been around long enough to know this. You have to actively pursue it. You have to make time for it because your brain is going to value familiarity more than growth. You're not just going to grow because you want to. You're going to grow because you try to. And that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human to have these moments where you're tempted towards reverting back to the old habits that have set you back in the past. But that is what it means to be human, to fight that good fight. The goal isn't to never revisit old patterns, to never have temptation. The goal is to recognize them, give it a polite nod, and still choose differently. Like, oh, hey, yeah, I remember when. You can be in the room, but you don't get to control the conversation. So ask yourself a question then. What are you being asked to let go of right now? What are you being asked to let go of right now? If we can identify growth as more often being what we have to let go of, then what is being asked of you right now to let go of? What do you need to let go of to grow? What do you need to let go of so that you can stay above water? If you find yourself sinking, then relieve yourself of the burden. See, real courage isn't always charging into battle. Sometimes it's letting go of the need to be right, letting go of a role that you've always had, letting go of a relationship dynamic that's always been there, letting go of a story that you've carried and believed about yourself for years or decades. Letting go of identity that maybe at one point in time served you, but no longer is. And here's the hardest part. There ain't a damn person outside of yourself that can do it but you. Nobody can force you to let go. You say, hey, I've let go. Have you? Are we good at letting go? This is a simple concept. It's not easy. So I'll tag back again. Of course, I know all I have is martial arts analogies. I'll teach men in Tai Chi to try and learn how to relax, or even in my striking stand-up fighting art. I mean, like, yeah, these guys that come in are so tense. Just say, hey. It's very funny. Sometimes these guys are like double my age. I'm like, hey, relax. And it's just like, take a deep breath. They go, okay. Oh, relax. Relaxed. Can we let go? That's it. And they think they are. They're like, oh, I did. I am relaxed. So are you? Are you letting go? Like that analogy, that story, it's funny, it's fine. It's probably, you could probably resonate with it in some way, shape, or form in some area of your life with somebody that's has a hard time letting go of things or hard time relaxing. But how does that apply to you? You say, hey, I've let it go. It's gone. Like your fists are still clenched. I can see you holding it. No, I did. It's gone. What is letting go? Really? Levels to it. It doesn't mean you're just like nail it on the first try either. Because every single one of those guys that I tell to relax and they say they are, they think they're actually relaxed. Like they do. They believe they're relaxed. I'm like, oh, all right, we just don't know what relaxed is. Maybe we don't know what letting go actually is. Hmm. The hardest part is that nobody can do it for you. So, last thing, how do you lead yourself when you're between versions of who you are? When you're in this in between, when it's time to let go of some things, I can tell you what's helped me, right, in these times. It's still showing up as who you want to be in the face of uncertainty. And that means instead of finding your fulfillment, your happiness, your contentment in the sake of, you know, being grounded in your identity, why don't you stay grounded in your values? Can you stay true to your values even in times of transition and hardship? That is one of the truer tests of self leadership. Hey, I went through this really hard time, but I didn't compromise on my values. I didn't compromise on the things that I said was important for me or for others, the people I care about, for my department, my crew, my community, my family, myself. Because your identity is not this fixed thing. It is going to change. It is always changing, right? Your roles are going to change, your jobs will change, your circumstances will change, and yet your values can remain. Like, what's the nice thing about values and principles and laws? Why do you think we have things set up? The laws of reclaim, because they can apply no matter what area you are in your life. They are a guidepost, a lighthouse for which to view no matter what stage, no matter what area you are, no matter what circumstance you're going through. How can I apply these principles, these values, these things into my life, regardless of what's going on around me? Why do you think it's one of the first things that you learn and the thing that we continually return to over time? Because those are the pillars. Those are the things that will remain true and honest and grounded, no matter who you are at this current point in time, no matter what's going on in your life. You can always go back to them. And so if you want familiarity and you want consistency and you want certainty, well, then realize it's in your values that if you stay true to those things, you'll continue to show up as who you want to be, regardless of those changes. Say, hey, I want certainty in my circumstances. I want certainty in my outcomes. Have certainty in your values. Have certainty in your foundation. Your identity will change, your job will change, your circumstances will change, your values will remain. Do I act with integrity? Am I being of service? The value of discipline, growth, honesty, the laws of reclaim. When you anchor yourself to these things, doesn't make transitions easy, but it makes them easier. It doesn't make them easy. None of this is easy. But it's a hell of a lot better than rolling around in the dark, isn't it? Grasping at straws. So, last question. What might become possible? What might become available if you stop protecting an outdated version of yourself? What might become possible if you stop protecting an outdated version of you? Sometimes in life, what you want is right on the other side of an identity you're afraid to step into. And that next chapter is going to require space for you to move into it. And that space only appears when something old is allowed to leave. Something old is allowed to leave. So, Many people spend years trying to become someone new. This opportunity cost, right? Very few are willing to let go of who they are to get there. So transformation, most of the time, it's not addition, it's subtraction. It's removing what no longer serves you. So the question isn't who do I want to become? The question is what version of me am I still protecting that I need to let go of? If you're able to do that and transition into that, you're going to find that the space that you were looking for to become that new person is going to be right there in front of you. So for the next week, identify one story, one label, one identity or role that no longer serves you. And I want you to literally write it down. Ask yourself 2 questions. 3. How is this protecting me? How is this limiting me? And what would happen if I stopped carrying it? Then, when you've figured that out, take one action that aligns with the person you're becoming, not the one that you're leaving behind. That's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for listening. Moving in, I just want to leave this open for any questions, any comments, takeaways before we get into our community wins for the rest of the call. I want to make sure that we have a space to talk about anything that anybody picked up or anything that anybody wants to contribute.
Hey, Robbie, it's
Yes,
Marion.
ma'am. Hi.
That your message today is it's just scary, uncanny.
Okay. Today's talk or the text message I sent you?
Both.
Okay.
Both. It's like, what is
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to thank you for that. I won't get into it because it might take more than the time that you have. So thank
That's
you.
okay. Yeah. Well, you can always send me a message after the call if you want to talk.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Yep. And that's not the first time we've heard that. I swear I'm not spying on you guys. This is stuff that more often than not, these are things that I'll let you in on a little secret. Sometimes I pull these conversations, these talks, these topics from what I'm experiencing in my life. Want to know the dirty little secret is sometimes these talks are a letter to self that helps anybody realize that like we're all doing this, ladies and gentlemen. Like it's not, hey, come and listen to the guy who's got it all figured out. No, this is a message to self very often. If that's not clear, sometimes these things come from like, this is what I'm going through right now. I don't know about you guys, but like, this is how I process. Okay, great. So I swear I'm not spying on most of you. We got any other takeaways? Any comments before we move into wins? Feeling good? Okay. So then let's talk about, we still got, yep, Teresa on the call. What's up? Good to see you, by the way. And we got 1 or 2 goals at the beginning of the journey was to reclaim health. So you was born, grandson, born.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
amazing. Huge. Yeah. So this is kind of a new source of motivation for you, um, to kind of get back on the horse. What do you think is like the 1 or 2 areas that you can put back into, and you're like, hey, I might have like fallen off a little bit if I'm understanding this message correctly. What did you learn from that, and what are you going to do moving forward?
I mean, the visual every day is just literally just being able to grow older and be more active. I don't want to be the grandma that just sits inside and can't do anything. That's
Mm,
never wants to be my existence.
sure.
But I just kind of got tired of the everyday tracking my food and tracking my steps. And um, it was kind of a good and bad thing because, like, the hydration part, it's just became a normal everyday part of life now. So I know that I'm doing it. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to go in the app and track it. But the bad part was the nutrition. I stopped tracking the nutrition as well as I should have. And I feel like I kind of started feeling I was probably getting off of track a good bit. So just I don't know, holding him for the first time. I'm like, oh no, I got to get back on track. Got to get back, got to get things back in order. So, actually had even kind of fallen off with some of my workouts. So just getting everything back on track and getting back to feeling as well as I was prior
Mm.
to falling off.
Okay. So we've recognized that there's this like thing, but we've also seen like, hey, I can start feeling not good when I stop
Yeah.
doing it. It's kind of one of these things, right? It's like taking medicine. You got to take your full
Mhm.
dose of medicine, and then sometimes, it works so good we stop doing it. It's like I took half
Yeah,
the Z pack. I feel good. I feel good. Don't need it anymore. And then you get sick again, right? So yeah, it
absolutely.
can be one of these things. And what I want you to realize, Teresa, is that, for a lot of this, the good news is like the journey of growth in this program is very rarely this perfect like linear path up. Most of us have like bumps and ebbs and flows and have had moments where like crap, I fell off it here, I come back and whatever. Like it's not about you falling off because it's going to happen. Like you're going to have moments where perfection is not a part of this. The goal is that over time, as you experience more and more of these moments and these barriers, is how quickly can I get back? How quickly can I
Right,
get back to my routine, back to my center? And it's like, okay, it took me a couple weeks this time. Maybe next time it'll take me 10 days. And then the next time it takes me a week. And then the next time it takes me 5. And then the next time it takes me 3. And then so like I keep learning and it's like, all right, I get back faster and faster and faster. And the goal is that at some point you get so good at getting rebalanced that nobody else in your life outside of yourself would be able to tell the difference.
right,
It's like, hey, I still got off balance, but I'm so good at getting back in balance that nobody else can tell. You know,
right.
that would be the eventual goal, but that also doesn't happen overnight. So just realize that what you're explaining and describing is also a part of the normal experience. So the only wrong answer is giving up and like stopping altogether.
Yeah, no, I can't go back there. Your subject of your talk today, just like the other lady said, it just hit on so many levels that there's way too much to say. I mean, from relationships to, I mean, lots of levels. Even
Yep.
identification as only a firefighter or your profession, letting it take over. Um, it hits so many times. So,
Yeah. Awesome.
but yeah,
Thank you. Good. Well, good to have you back on track. And if you have all the support. So keep it up. Yep. Especially with these new things. Angie, let's go, lady. Got a little, let's see, because been on the go, tweaked back. Okay. And feeling better. Actually allowed yourself to rest. Okay, so this is a case of like Angie doesn't need to be taught, she just needs to be reminded, right? Angie, had a little bit of tweaked her back a little bit and gave herself time to recover and get back to it. So Angie, what was the biggest learning experience out of all this for you?
Yeah, well, number one, it was don't go so far deep on the leg press.
Okay.
So yeah, um, that didn't feel good. Um, and then it was just kind of like reminding myself that, um, that it's okay to miss a few days of the gym, especially if you have an injury, because if you try to push through it, you're just going to make it worse and end up having a longer time off.
Mm,
So yeah, so I mean, like you said, it's just me needing reminders. So just trying to remind myself of things like that. So I took off. It's been, gosh, I don't even know when that happened. Last week sometime, obviously, but so I should be going back today though. I feel better, but just kind of reminding myself of that, like it's okay to not push through and muscle through an injury like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Again, just another iteration here, you guys, that like we as coaches, Angie being an amazing coach and me being the creator of this program, we go through the same things. We can talk about it because we do it with you as well. So, like these things happen to us. We work through a lot of the same issues. It's more so about, again, how fast do we bounce back? How fast do we recover? These things never go away. If you've been chasing this thing where it's like, I'll never deal with this again, I have a hard lesson here for you, which is that they will never go away. These challenges are not going anywhere. Our ability to deal with them is going to change, right? How good I am at mitigating them is going to change. But the issues will never be absent, right? The things, the barriers, the stuff that gets in the way. It's just our willingness to either let it stop us completely or to not. And so Angie's being a great example of that. Thank you, Angie. Nope, Brad. Got out of my cam lock boot after spraining an ankle and starting to move a little bit better again. Yeah, how's that going, man? How's your experience been? I know you said you tweaked some stuff. So,
Yeah, so I got out of the cam lock last Friday. Now I'm using just an ankle brace as needed.
mm,
So we're starting to get in those steps a little bit easier. Trying to trying to move with the cam lock boot on is really obnoxious.
mm,
So the cardio will come back eventually.
yeah.
I definitely miss my Stairmaster at this point in time. So, which is a weird thing to say, but that and doing some running. So
Yeah,
couple more
no.
weeks, we'll see if we can get that ankle moving.
Yeah. Okay. So part of a new identity is you could
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Part of a new identity. All right, cool. Well, I'm glad that that's going. Do you have like a timeline on the ultimate recovery or anything like that?
No, not really. So
Okay.
Doc signed off on me going back to work. So go back on shift on Wednesday. I took tomorrow off, so
Okay.
got some family stuff going on. But
Okay.
so we'll just
Good.
keep walking and
One step at a time.
do the movements that I can for the time being. So
Yeah, well, at some point these are just going to be like a blip on the radar, right? I know
yeah,
it
we
feels
hope
like
so.
in the moment it feels like forever, and then you think back on it a couple of years and you're like, it was, you, Angie, like all of us in the moment, like, oh my God, took a couple weeks off. It's the end of the world. And you think
Right.
back, you're like, I was like a couple weeks, nothing really changed. It's just, it feels like forever in the moment. I get it.
Yeah.
So just something to be aware of, but good work, man. Sounds like you're doing the right thing, and I'm glad you'll be going on shift back again soon. So
Yeah.
we got tasks that would normally be difficult are becoming easier. Energy levels have increased. Getting a lot of things done, rising to the challenge in life in ways I didn't know I could. Well, Kim, let me tell you that you are a superstar, and there is way more that you are possible of doing than we see it. I'm glad that you're starting to see it. So excellent work. I don't know if you have any other takeaways or commentary on that, but I see you out there crushing it. And uh, I hope I see you in Oaxaca. So I think I will. You guys, if you got some messages today or check out my post in the school community, we are finding a way to get in person for a retreat style thing. It's in the community right now. It's a pinned post. You can go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. So, okay. Last one, we got Natasha. Kind of already touched on some of this stuff, but all right, later, Brad. Good. I'll see you tomorrow. Slowly getting back on track from a busy couple weeks. Angie, thank you for the support. It really helps when you were struggling. Little steps to get you back on track. Don't give up on yourself, and the results will show. Well, you nailed it. I don't have anything to add to that, so I'm just glad that you're in that mindset. It's like, okay, these things are going to change. These moments are going to come in and out of our lives. It's again, same concept. It seems to be the theme of our wins today, which is just that life's going to keep happening and those things aren't going to change. So we better improve our ability to adapt to them, which it sounds like that's what you're doing, Natasha. I'm really glad to see you here again. So it's very refreshing. Very good to see you. Do you have anything to add to that?
Just, it's great to kind of zoom out like Angie told me to do and like focus more because I was just trying to kind of do everything. Like I was hitting most of the things, but then I was hard on myself for the things I missed.
Mm,
And so just kind of zooming out, taking that breath
yep.
and focusing on how to figure it out, how to get moving.
Yep.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. I see it. So, and we got time. You're doing great. So cool. All right, everybody. I think that is it for our wins. Did I miss anybody? Let me look around here. I don't see any other writing down here. Don't have anything. Okay, so great. Outside of that, does anybody have anything for me? Any questions? Good. All right. I am going to send out another final reminder here. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are doing the information event for this in-person volunteer trip, right? So I've been thinking for a long time, me and the team, me, Angie, Brittany, and Jake, we've been thinking like, how can we get everybody together in person? Like, what would we do it for? What would be important enough? Group of firefighters, you know, this is a fitness program. What could we make that would get us together in a good way? And I can hardly think of a better opportunity than to go travel to be of service. Right. This is what we do in this community, is to be of service to ourselves and be of service to others. So to me, this is like uh, yeah, Kim, don't worry. I'm gonna get you situated. Don't worry. You don't have to explain. So all of these things being what they are, I can hardly think of a better way to get together and to a reason to be there than to go and be of service and to travel together. So if you are interested, that send me a message on school. I'll give you the link to register for it. Again, you're not committing to the trip with this. This is a trip to give you information. And should you decide you want to do it, if you sign up with my group, what you'll get as an incentive is you'll get an extra month of fundraising to do it, because everybody else, the general fundraising window is only 1 month. So you would get 2 should you decide to commit to doing something like this, and you get extra time to get the funds together to qualify to go. So it is done by fundraising. They have fundraising campaigns. They help you do it. They teach you how. And I've done this process myself, and I've done a lot of fundraising in my life, so I'm comfortable leading something like this. So let me know. Reach out personally if you have any questions, guys. Cool. All right. If you need the info, find it in the community. Other than that, you can also shoot me a DM. All right, everybody. I'll let you go. Take care, and we will chat with you soon. Bye now.